Storms like the one that tore through Mississippi last Friday will become more common and more disastrous, according to a new study. The storms are called supercells. They feed off of an updraft or rising current in the air, and that updraft is also rotating. Supercells often produce damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes. They can also last for hours. What we saw in Rolling Fork, Mississippi is just one recent example, and if nothing is done to slow climate change, researchers warn some parts of the country will see a lot more of them. Walker Ashley is one of those researchers. He's a distinguished professor at Northern Illinois University. The study he worked on was published in the Bulletin of American Meteorological Society. So 3 days before this EF4 tornado tore through Mississippi, you said, quote, "We are in this experiment and living it right now." What did you mean by that?
Well, actually, my colleague, Dr. Victor Gensini, has looked historically at the trends of supercells and their perils, such as tornadoes and hail, and has found that there's been a shift or an increase in risk to the east. What we found in our simulations looking into the future is that that trend continues, and in fact, it actually increases. So we see a notable increase in the Mid-South, particularly where this storm occurred on Friday night. The Ozark Plateau, Missouri, down into central Mississippi Valley. But we actually see a decline in the frequency into the Great Plains. It's not to say that there aren't going to be storms out there. There are going to be plenty of supercells roaming the Great Plains, but the trend is downward as we look into the 21st century.
So downward meaning what exactly? Downward smaller, but these are more devastating.
No, the storms, the size is going to remain the same. Okay. The population, the number of these storms is going to reduce when we get west of I-35. But we're going to see increases in the numbers of these events, particularly in the Ozark Plateau down into the Mid-South. And that's very concerning, considering, as we've just experienced on Friday evening, the extreme vulnerability that we have, whether it be the housing type or some of the other vulnerability factors that go into play in creating a disaster.
So fewer in one traditional area, but more in another. Is there any other area that might not see this kind of tornado activity as much, that we'll see more of it? I mean, that would be unexpected?
Yeah, the Ohio Valley, and even into some parts of the Northeast. We see notable increases in those regions as well. But the really the really dramatic increases down into the Mid-South and into the Ozark Plateau. And really concerning is when we look at the intensity of these events, the strongest rotation within these supercells, we see more of it in the future and more intense cases. And so that suggests that we're going to have, unfortunately, more tornadoes and hail when these events do occur. Anything
that can be done to reverse this trend?
Well, there's a lot that can be done, right? Long term, I think we really need to think about our building codes in this country, which is a patchwork across the country, and usually we're building at the bare minimum. So building better, land use planning can go a long ways to help as well. But really, at the individual, personal level, have a plan. When you hear that there's a tornado watch in place, what are you going to do in a situation when a warning does come along? And so just as we prepare for fires and put our seatbelt on in our vehicles, we need to be prepared for when a weather event comes along.
So that's mitigation, not reversing any trend.
The best way to reverse the trend is, look, tornadoes and supercells are going to occur no matter what, whether we have climate change or not, but we're exacerbating, we're enhancing the problem. One of the best things you could do is reduce the global warming.
All right, Professor Walker Ashley, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.